realizations and lower returns on the horizon. He explains private equity firms will eventually have to refinance assets bought up until 2022 at higher rates. Goldman's trading desk sees a wall of money pouring into the stock market in early July. The bank's Global Markets Division Managing Director Scott Rupner says that may set up a continuing rally in the next quarter and into the second half of the year. He adds that share prices should benefit from strong seasonal trends and rising engagement from retail investors. Heidi.
We've got a little bit of development when it comes to oil price pressures. Saudi Aramco lowering prices for all of its oil to Asia next month. This is the first cut since February. A pricing sheet says flagship Arab light crude will be cut by 50 cents to $2.40 a barrel above the regional benchmark. It comes after some OPEC Plus members, including Saudi Arabia, agreed to gradually roll back voluntary supply cutbacks beginning in October. Taking a look at how that's sort of affecting pricing when it comes to oil, we're actually seeing that advance still continue off that 4-month low. Traders trying to establish that pricing floor after multiple days of declines. We are also seeing industrial metals pretty much coming under pressure there as well. Copper falling through 10,000 after those recent gains, but gold rising, the focus shifting to more US data. This is Bloomberg.
AI can help your customer service people resolve issues faster so their customers are even happier.
Another thank you for you.
Thanks.
Those macaroons?
Don't even think about it.
Nope, I'm not thinking about it.
Is there anything else I can help you with today?
The world needs ways to reduce carbon emissions.
We're working on solutions for our business.
Like carbon capture.
That can also help businesses like yours.
Heavy industry with low emissions. Let's deliver.
Good morning. This is Bloomberg Surveillance.
This is Bloomberg Daybreak Europe.
You're watching The China Show.
This is Bloomberg Technology.
This is the countdown to the close.
Welcome to Balance of Power. This is Bloomberg.
People ask me all the time, what is the key to being a really good investor? And I tell them it's to surround yourself with and work with the best investors you can find. On Bloomberg Wealth, I'm going to take you to meet the greatest investors in the world, the people that I would like to have managing my money.
Go figure out how to get exposure to hyperscalers, which we think will be the biggest winner in what AI and data storage will do for the world.
Why do the biggest names in business choose Bloomberg?
That is a great question.
It's a great question.
Great question.
Great question.
Best question I get all night.
Bloomberg. Top experts. Great questions.
This is the Asia Trade, about 30 minutes away from the major market opens. Here are the top stories that you should know. Asian stocks are poised to gain following a tech-fueled rally in the US. The S&P 500 notching its 25th record close this year, with AI poster child Nvidia leading the way after hitting $3 trillion in market value. The Bank of Canada is the first G7 central bank to launch into an easing cycle after lowering its benchmark overnight rate by 25 basis points. The ECB is poised to follow suit later on Thursday, with analysts also pricing in a 0.25 percentage point cut. And Narendra Modi has secured coalition support, handing him a third term as India's Prime Minister despite his election setback. India stocks rebounded yesterday from the post-election rout that raised almost $400 billion in market value. Well, this is a setup across Asia after, of course, that huge rally driven largely by one stock, by one sector. It is, of course, tech and AI front and center, and that will be the theme as we get stocks looking like a higher open here in Asia as well. Sydney up by just about 0.5% in futures trading. We're seeing a strong start out of the gates when it comes to trading in Japan as well. Sherry.
Yeah, and Eli Lilly, one of those that benefited from the big rally that we saw in the U.S. session as well. Now the stock at a record high. It's among pharma companies benefiting as well from a new wave of obesity drugs, a category Bloomberg Intelligence thinks could reach sales of $80 billion by 2030. Obesity and associated medical issues are on the rise in Japan as well, where Lilly launched its weight loss and diabetes product, Mounjaro, last year. The same drug is sold in the U.S. as Zepbound. Let's discuss the prospects for the business in Japan and globally. Simone Thompson, Representative Director and President of Eli Lilly Japan, joins us in the Tokyo studio now. Great to see you in person.
Thank you.
So basically, Mounjaro right now here in the U.S. is marketed as a diabetes drug, but you have already asked for regulatory approval for the treatment of diabetes or obesity, that is.
Yes, that's correct, Sherry. So first of all, we have launched already Mounjaro here in Japan for the treatment of type 2 diabetes. And we also have announced that we have submitted and filed for regulatory approval for obesity disease here in Japan.
Do you have any updates for us, and what are the expectations of demand here?
Yes. Well, first of all, let me say that for type 2 diabetes patients, we see around about 10 million patients here in Japan, and half of them are actually still not achieving the HbA1c levels, which should be below 7%, to make sure that they really don't have any diabetes complication. And that's where currently Mounjaro is helping existing type 2 diabetes patients here in Japan. And that's very exciting. We have seen a very strong uptake. Second, for the obesity side, this is a very complex disease, right? You have excessive fat accumulations in your tissues, and it's really, impairing your health. And this is where actually tirzepatide could be a really good treatment option. And we have seen here in Japan that probably around 30% of men, a little more than 20% of women are actually can be diagnosed as obesity disease because they have a BMI of 25 and higher. So therefore, the prospects are very strong. There's a high unmet need. Unfortunately, there's little treatment. So we're looking forward to providing tirzepatide soon.
Is there that sort of awareness here in Japan, as there is in the West, that obesity is actually a disease? And are you a bit concerned about the government perhaps not being as open to such drugs, given also the very strong diet culture in Asian countries?
Yes. Great question, because you are absolutely right. Currently, we still feel like there's a lot of social stigma around that. It's not really recognized from a society standpoint as a disease, but it is. It's a very complex disease, right? Because when you have risk factors, you're at risk of stroke, of cardiovascular disease, of death. So it's very serious, but still, I think society believes that obesity is something you can self-manage, right? You can just control yourself. Even we know it has to do with lifestyle, it has to do with genetics, with the environment you're actually living on. So therefore, treatments are very rare currently, so we think, tirzepatide is an important treatment option, but we also, of course, would like to work with the government, with the medical association, to raise public awareness and address this social stigma, which is really debilitating for patients.
With the rising popularity of this drug category to treat obesity and to promote weight loss, there's also concerns about, what happens when you come off it and what are the long-term implications of staying on it, indefinitely, right? Is that something that we're getting more data on?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, as you know, the regulatory submission always requires to have a very compact clinical data package on efficacy and safety. So when we launch these products, receive regulatory approval, Heidi, we have already very, robust safety data. And then, of course, as the product will be used in future, we're generating, of course, more of these data. So far, we have seen a very robust safety profile. We have a very strong efficacy profile for tirzepatide in obesity disease, where we have seen quite significant weight loss, which medically is relevant for these patients to come off this risk implications.
And there's been huge, supply concerns over these drugs as well. In Japan, are you looking to partner with manufacturers at all in terms of having local production?
Yeah, so first of all, you're right. We have seen an unprecedented demand of incretin globally, not just here in Japan. So we're really working hard to address and produce more. We have announced over the last 4 years $18 billion of manufacturing investment. That is the most ambitious manufacturing investment we have done in our 148 years of company history. And so every day we're continue to support and supply more. Here in Japan, when we started last year, we had to control some of the shipments, but we have worked really hard with our partner here also on the ground, Mitsubishi Tanabe, and our manufacturing colleagues, and happy to share that the supply here in Japan is stable and we have lifted these controls.
Biotech and pharmaceutical innovation is huge in Japan, obviously. What are you on the lookout for in terms of identifying, the next most, hopeful medicine for the company?
Yeah, so look, our scientists are really looking into advancing science and therapies. We're operating in a couple of core focus areas, namely oncology, diabetes, obesity, which I spoke about, but also immunology, neurodegeneration, including Alzheimer's, dementia, and pain. So these key focus areas, we're partnering with our scientists. We're, of course, also screening the landscape internationally to see which, new modalities we can actually take on. And as you probably have seen, our pipeline is being regarded as one of the best in the industry. And I think it has to do because we continue to invest into complex diseases like Alzheimer's, dementia, because we have invested $8 billion the last 35 years. We have had multiple clinical trials, a lot of clinical molecules we have tested. Now we have donanemab, which we have submitted for early Alzheimer's disease. And I think that's the path over the last decades which have made us successful, and we will continue on this path.
Donanemab, with the approval, what is the update on that front, and how big of an opportunity is Japan, where, of course, we deal with an aging society?
Yes, so we have announced last year that we have submitted donanemab here also for regulatory approval. So we're working with the regulators as we speak. The market here, of course, there's a huge unmet need, Sherry, because currently next year the MHLW estimates that we will have 6.5 to 7 million patients here in Japan with Alzheimer's, dementia. So there's a huge unmet need, and of course we hope that with donanemab we can help many of these patients to show decline of their progression of their disease.
Simone Thompson, really good to have you here in the Tokyo studio with us with an update of everything that Lilly is doing when it comes to all of those new drug developments. She's the director and president of Eli Lilly Japan. And coming up, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise shares are trading at record highs after the firm reported better than expected revenue fueled by the AI boom. Our interview with their CEO, Antonio Neri, is next. This is Bloomberg.
Instead of AI here or there, why not put AI to work everywhere?
The world needs ways to reduce carbon emissions.
ExxonMobil can help. We're working on solutions for our business.
That can also help businesses like yours.
Heavy industry with low emissions. Let's deliver.
At AbbVie, we're driven by people, passion, possibilities. We care about delivering what you need, because your best life is our life's work. That's why we create medicines and solutions that put impact first, and why we find answers that make lives better. Relentlessly helping over 60 million people, and counting, to live their best lives. People, passion, possibilities. AbbVie.
heartbeat of the tech sector.
Spread across global markets.
The real-time data aspect is going to be important.
We're going to bring you expert analysis on that. Sure.
Don't miss Bloomberg's interview with the
Apple has turned to OpenAI to play catch-up in the generative AI race. The agreement is set to be announced next week at Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference as the tech giant seeks to turn around a revenue slowdown. A Bloomberg Technology reporter, Mark Gurman, joins us now for more. Mark, and another great scoop. This is fascinating in terms of a deal that once upon a time would have been unheard of.
It is unheard of for Apple to go with outside partners for core underlying technologies, right? But that's the stakes we're at right now. Apple did a bad job preparing for this AI revolution, this future based on artificial intelligence and Gen AI. They were caught completely flat-footed when ChatGPT hit the market in November of 2022. They were not able to recoup quickly, and they were not able to develop a formidable rival to ChatGPT. What they've done instead is integrate AI deeply into its applications,